Z102.9. He's back in town for 2 shows tonight at Penguins Comedy Club. Inside the Vault, downtown Cedar Rapids, 2nd Avenue. Downtown, you can't miss it. 7 o'clock and a 9 o'clock show. Get your tickets now. He is Tom Arnold, and he's back in Iowa. We're always so great. It's so glad to see you.
In Iowa for Valentine's. Yeah. By myself. Yeah. I didn't think that went through too much.
So romantic.
Well, let me tell you, I got in last night, and I was unpacking, and my wife had hidden a heart-shaped box of chocolates in my luggage and a card. And then... and I thought, well, I'll have those on Valentine's. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I'm here at the hotel alone. I'll start eating those right now.
Right.
I'll just have a couple. And and now I'm 3/4 way done with the box, and I'm eating in bed. And then I wake up this morning. Don't eat chocolates in your bed. I'm going to tell you right now, because you're going to have some explaining to do to the housekeeper.
Yeah,
I'm going to say,
right.
like, I wouldn't let him clean my room before I gave this interview, because I want to go back in there.
Right.
Because even when you try to clean up chocolate, it looks bad.
Right. It looks worse when you try to clean it. It looks worse.
It really does.
Oh, no.
And apparently I ate a lot of chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to be in Iowa. It's fun. And I can't wait to see everybody tonight.
How often do you come back? Because you come back in sort of high-profile ways and also stealthy ways.
Well, you got to do both, because it's 2 birds with 1 stone. I came back Thanksgiving, down to Ottumwa with my dad and everybody, and we got together. But there was an Iowa game. They played Nebraska, and I thought I should get up there for that. So that kind of worked out perfect. The game was not perfect, but it's still great to come up there and catch up with those friends. And so that was a good trip. But this time, I'm kind of going different towns and hopefully catching up with everybody as I go.
And you know what? Speaking of football and stuff, because I know you're just a huge Hawk fan.
Right.
That was a rough season. I wouldn't mind your
It was
take
a rough
real
season.
quick. What are you state of the game right now for a Hawkeye fan?
Well, it's over. This year is over. And so there's no reason to carry that any farther. It was brutal. As a fan, I watch every game. I at least get tweeted every game. Even if I'm shooting something, they have these University of Iowa tweets, football tweets, so on every play. So I'm watching it go. There was some brutal games. So there's been some brutal basketball. It was at the Super Bowl. I was in the gym watching the Hawks play basketball. I forget who they were playing. And I think it was Wisconsin. And, everything looks good, and then something goes to heck. But the team obviously fell apart. They were, by the time I got there at the Nebraska game, they were not, they weren't much of a team.
For my take too, though, I mean, Kirk Ferentz has enough in the bank with me.
Why are you guys obsessed with his money?
No, I don't.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. People are obsessed with how much he makes here.
I meant that emotionally.
I know what you mean. I know.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have to prove to me he's a great coach.
Absolutely. He is a great coach. And let me tell you something about him. This is a fact. He could have gone. He could be a head NFL coach, and he had many opportunities over the years, and that's an absolute fact. And he stayed with the team, and he stayed with Iowa, and we need to remember that. And there was injuries and things. The running back situation this year, a lot of things happen that a coach has absolutely no control over. And it's also hard, when a lot of these young athletes are going to the SEC. I mean, to get them to come up to Iowa City, which is a rebuilding thing constantly, and it's something we've always dealt with. But I think in the 80s, we got on a run of getting kids in the early 90s, and we need to do that again. And bring a wider variety of kids here. But you do that by winning. Right. And I think this year is going to be a great year. I always am optimistic.
Now, when you show up to Kinnick or when you show up wherever you are, when you come back home, do people leave you alone in general? Are people pretty good about that?
People are nice. People are very nice. The students are they're very nice. You go down on the field and it feels good to get going, and it's nice. I see some of the same people from the athletic department upstairs in the boxes, and some of the people that own the boxes that I know, and you catch up with everybody here and there. But then I always want to get down on the field and see what's really going on, and then you can hide out in the tunnel under the field with Herky if you like. But no, it's great. It's a great pleasure, and for a guy that grew up coming to the games with his grandpa in the '60s and late '60s and early '70s, it's really an honor.
Catch us up with outside of Iowa stuff for you. Where are things at for you?
We got a little show on CMT, my big redneck vacation that I host on Saturday nights, and it's great. It's great. We have this family of 14 rednecks from outside Shreveport, Louisiana. They'd never been out of there. And the first year we had them live in the Hamptons. I don't know if you're familiar with the Hamptons, which is there's a bunch of weirdos in the Hamptons, a bunch of rich weirdos. And so we put our guys in there, and them. Last year they went to England. And this year they're traveling around America, and they don't know where they're going, and we'll put them in a town. And this week they're in Dearborn, Michigan, and it is the largest Muslim population.
Yes.
Yeah, and they end up staying with a Muslim family, which is, of all the shows, and we do them for fun and we do them for laughs, but this one's a little rough. I mean, as they're pulling in, I said I wanted to see what they had to say, and they you hear them saying, "Wow, look at all the terrorists, look at all," because they're people in Muslim Guard, and they had not been around that, and I felt like it's okay to hear them say, because a lot of people think that, really ignorant people, and then to see what happens when they actually get together, and you find out once again they have so much in common. Right. They're really not, and that's the thing about America. We have all these different subcultures and all these different folks. And then once you get and sit with them, you're like, well, they care about their family too. They care about their job. Right. That is. But sometimes people need to see that. And, it's
so you're accidentally doing good works with my big redneck vacation.
Yeah. We've had a couple accidents where we actually something nice came. We had the first season we had there was a wedding. So it's reality TV. So you hire the gayest wedding planner you can, because it's reality TV. And I got to say, the men they just had not been around gay folks. And the women are more accepting on things. But at the very end, the matriarch of the family kind of made this speech that we did not plan, where she's in tears and saying Michael, the planner, and his man should be allowed to be married just like we're married. And I never knew that before. We had to bleep out the short F words that people refer, unfortunately, to gay people with, and put in gay. But because she didn't know what she was saying, but it was really nice. And she said, "I'm going to go back to Louisiana and tell our friends about this. They are just like us." And so sometimes accidentally, even in reality TV, you get those moments that you go, "Wow, that's pretty powerful." If that's why we're doing the show, that's a good idea.
You produce that as well?
I do, and I produce other stuff for CMT, and I do a lot of. I started writing. That's what I really started out doing, stand-up comedy and writing back in the 80s. I still do that. I have a movie at Relativity, which is a big movie studio out there, and I have, I do a lot of different things. I'm doing stand-up, obviously. My wife, we're having a baby in
I was going to say, never mind, you're going to be a father.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, it's the very first time, very excited. But we're also remodeling a little bit of the house, and so I figured what a good time to be on the road. So I'm in Iowa, and then I go up to Nashville and Jacksonville and Baltimore and Raleigh, and then I'll be home over a month before the baby's due. So I'll be all locked in there, And
doesn't sound like UPS worked out the route.
No. I mean, it's still because I have to keep going back to the West Coast, so it just doesn't
matter.
I'm not on the road constantly, so I get to go check in and but it's getting crunch time at home. I can tell.
Tom Arnold is with us. He's got 2 shows tonight at Penguins Comedy Club, downtown Cedar Rapids, 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Jeff, real quick, how can people get tickets?
You go online at penguinscomedyclub.com or call 362-8133.
That's Jeff. And apparently his wife has the good car.
Oh, is that
That's what
right?
he told me this morning.
That's how it always happens, isn't it?
His car, it looks like the kind of car you'd have if you had a kid and they just threw their stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's also his wife's, it's got women's glasses in it. So I don't know what's going on there. But he tells me that when I get in there, it's real crowded. He's like, yeah, this is how it's going to be when you have your kid. I'm like, no, actually it's not. Because I'm still going to be a man, Jeff, unlike you.
Are you a car guy, Tom?
No, I'm not a car guy.
Yeah. Do you have a dream car, though? Do you have some dream car that you like, just your baby?
No, I'm a big guy. When you're a big guy, a lot of the dream cars that I see that my friends have in Los Angeles seem to be smaller. So I've driven pretty big cars, like large.
Right.
I'd rather be comfortable that way. I'm not a car guy. I'm not a watch guy. I think a long time ago, maybe in 1988, I thought I'm going to be a watch guy because Arnold's a watch guy and all the guys that I know. But then I thought, eventually, how do you compete with this? This is a guy, that has a new $20,000 watch every week. Wow. I'm not going to be. Wow. I'm in for a couple weeks of that, and then I'm out.
You've been there for him. He's had an interesting run, and you've been a good friend.
He's been, usually, not always. Been a good friend. Sometimes, I talk too much about stuff, but
and that wasn't an invitation to do that. By the way,
I know, I understand. I'm not going to, but no, he is. We both been good friends. He's a good guy, and he's a lot of fun.
With your stand-up tonight, for example, because you've got so many parts to your career that can get folded in. How do you are a stand-up at heart? I shouldn't say that. It's where you started, though. So how are you approaching your shows tonight?
Well, it's better than the last time I was here because I've really worked. I think I was here a few years ago, Jeff said, or somewhere around here. And, I'm really enjoying it. And my intent originally was, I'm going to go back and do some stuff on the road so I could do a Showtime special or an HBO special. And then I did that. And then I started this last year. I've really enjoyed it and booked more on the road, to go to different towns around North America. And I enjoy it a lot. I don't have exactly what I'm going to do. But, you're in Cedar Rapids. You're going to do something a little different. But I have a framework to what I'm going to do, and I know what I should do.
Because you feel like you watch Jerry Seinfeld enough talking about how he creates comedy, you start to feel like you know a little something about how these things get put together, right or wrong. And every comic is different.
Right.
How free are you on stage, and how much of it is stuff that you really did have to go and work to say, I got to get back into sort of fighting shape?
Well, you know what you do is, and Jerry Seinfeld's a great joke writer, and he's the best at what he does. And what I do is a little different because it's got to be more personal, because I feel like everybody that comes there knows something about me, some point in my life, personal.
Right.
And we don't know a lot about Jerry Seinfeld personally, and he wants to keep it that way, and he's amazing. But I feel I owe it to the audience to be honest, and maybe tell them some stories about Arnold or whatever that are maybe they haven't heard exactly like this, and stuff about the things that have happened to me that hasn't, in a humorous way. And a lot of stuff comes from your mistakes. A lot of humor comes from that. And so I just feel I owe it to them to be honest and let them inside a little bit. Maybe when I go on the talk shows, I try to be honest, and I try to, tell interesting stories. But when you're doing stand-up for live people, you could go a step farther, because it's not going to leave the room. It's not going to be on TMZ tomorrow. This is between us. Hopefully it's not. This is between us, and it's that real intimate feeling, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, your honesty is actually really kind of astonishing. And I'm sure there's a bright and a dark side to that. I'll bet you have a lot of people, thank you for, bringing up stuff that they can relate to. And there's probably also a lot of stuff that comes your way because of it. How do you balance that? How do you feel about that?
Well, two things. I decided a long time ago that I was going to do that because I could see other people, if Jay Leno's making a joke about me for something, I would always think, why? Why didn't I make that joke about me? And so I'm going to grab this stuff. And, when you start being brutally honest or, intimately honest with stuff early on, you can either quit, which is probably the smart thing, or you can, keep doing that. And that's something that, it causes issues if you have, my wife sometimes is like, wow, why are you talking about that? So you got to figure out a way to do it appropriately. I know my family has had, I wrote a book a few years ago, and I don't think my stepmother talked to me for 3 years after that. It was honest. I thought it was nicer than what it could have been. But, some people just don't want to talk about stuff. It's an Iowa thing, too. Oh, that's a family secret. We don't go into that. But I will tell you this, whether I'm in Pittsburgh or New Orleans like last week or wherever, after each show, I stand out front and we'll take pictures with everybody, or I'll sign everything. And I have these shirts for my kids' heart camp and whatever they want. But there's always a moment with people, and the moments are, that was funny, or, hey, I was sexually abused when I was a kid, or I'm a recovering alcoholic, or, things that you probably wouldn't hear most comedians, but people get to have a moment. I get to have that moment with them. And that I don't go out, I don't go running around, but that's my real moment. And that's part of the reason I love traveling around, because it's a opportunity to have a moment with 1,000 people on a weekend. And it's just different. It's different. And it may be, I liked this movie, which was an odd, because I've been, and I say it in my act, but it's true, I've been in over 100 movies. But it might be some odd movie that when they were in college, they saw The Stupids or something like that, or something that weird that wasn't successful. And so we have a moment about that, and it's pretty interesting to me.
Well, it's you know what, and outside of the respect we have for you career-wise, you do a lot of stuff that people probably don't know about, some of which I do, and
Right.
I think that's...
Well, I think anybody in my position, and you know this, and I know you guys do a lot of stuff. That's the opportunity we really have.
Absolutely.
Because we can't. I don't know what's gonna, exactly what I'm gonna do. I don't know if this pilot they wrote for me is gonna go. I don't know if this is gonna happen. But I know that my kids' camp, we're having our fundraiser next month. We're doing all this other stuff. We're doing some PSAs. There's things I can control and be a part of it. Nothing, and this is not BS. Nothing feels better than being a part of something or contributing to something worthy, particularly if it's helping kids in whatever situation. I mean, you really feel good about yourself.
Right.
It's pretty hard to feel good about yourself some days,
right.
But you 100% do. And so if you've had luck like me and you're famous or you have this or that, you owe that to do that stuff. And the same way with your old college or your hometown, or there are things that you have to. That you should do, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate when people come back to Iowa that are from here, and people do Iowa things and not forget about where they came from, and if they went to Iowa, they don't forget about that, and it's a good thing.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, buddy.
2 shows tonight, Penguins Comedy Club, downtown Cedar Rapids, 2nd
or
Avenue.
the Vault, whatever it's called. What's the freaking Vault? What is that?
We do dueling pianos and live
music. Are you
music
classing up the Penguins? Because Penguins is a goofy name. Let's be honest.
And it has been for many, many years, which is to his credit.
23 years.
2 shows, 7 and 9 tonight. Tom,
Yeah,
great
please,
to catch up with you.
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you down there.